So what did I learn in those years? If you don't have the right people, the organization is just a plaster in a door or in a logo in stickers and brands, but it doesn't mean anything. It's the people that make the business. And as leaders in organizations, we have to constantly remember that it's the people that make the business. We have to stay real, and money always f's with your brain, and it makes you think of things that many times are not necessary. I think from the people that I've met and talked to who are very successful in life, I've realized that they are successful because they are not owned by the money that they have. They're not possessed by their wealth, and they can think normally and they can treat people normally. I realized that people are just people. When you strip them of all the trappings of what they're wearing or what they have or what car they drive, ultimately people are just people, and all the more now and into the future, the most important thing will be about what is real, because there's so much fake stuff. You have all these employees, you don't know how much of the interview will lead to a successful hire. When you hire someone, you don't know how they're going to perform. When you have kids, you don't know how they're going to grow up. When you're a parent, you don't know how you're going to be as a parent. When you are a lover, you don't know how you're going to be as a lover. You don't know how that lover's going to be with you. So there's so much pretense, second guessing, overthinking. At the end of the day, people just have to learn how to be real, vulnerable, genuine, sincere, honest, and we get so caught up in so much of the pretensions that we just end up in disaster. What I've learned is you can learn so many things from people. I have met good people, I have met bad people, I have met monsters, and I've met angels, and there's always something you have to learn from them, from their encounter. I've met people and I've walked away thinking, I understand now why the family failed. I understand now why the business failed. I realize now why he's a drunkard, why he's a wife beater, why he's an abuser. I understand now why people devote so much to charity, why people donate so much of their life to help other people. And I've also met people who will not bother to help anyone. One of the most interesting things about my job is it gives me a look into the lives of so many people, a very diverse collection of characters that is really a study on human nature. I think that's the most interesting thing about what I do, what we do. So early in my life, I watched a video of a guy named Jim Rogers. Jim Rogers is the third biggest investor in the world after Warren Buffett and George Soros. It was after those two guys, it's Jim Rogers. He's not so prominent now, maybe because he's much, much, much older. One of the things he said is that if you think you know everything you need to know, then that is the beginning of your disaster. You think that you can predict the trend, and then you take positions. And sometimes, even though you know where the trend is going, you either bet too early or you're betting too late. And then you need to bet on the right horse. And sometimes you think it's the right horse. Yung pala sabit. And you need to be courageous. So every so often, I think there are big disasters in the economy and then big booms. So you want to be able to buy assets when it's a disaster, and you want to be able to sell when it's a boom. So for 5 years of my life, I was preparing myself for this disaster that was going to happen, and that was the global financial crisis. I felt in 2007 that things were not right, and so I sold a lot of my assets in 2007, preparing for what could be a crisis fairly soon. I didn't know what was going on. All I knew is that things were not right in the world, and that might produce a crisis of some kind. So I don't know what was going to happen, but I knew that I have to prepare for that eventuality. And so I was able to raise a lot of cash at that time in 2007 to prepare myself for investing that money, a lot of money at that time for me. I mean, it's not a lot of money for a lot of people, but it was a lot of money for me. It was everything that I had at that time. And when that moment came, global financial crisis, stocks fell 50, 60, 70, 80%, very big, solid companies. And I had that opportunity to deploy all of it at the very bottom of the market. If you look in hindsight, that was that one moment when I could have bought a particular stock that I wanted to buy for many, many years. And I waited for this moment. The moment arrived, and I let it pass. And why? Because I was so smart. I was thinking, oh, it hit this peso, and I think it's going to keep falling. But it stopped falling because I was so smart, I missed it. I should have said it could fall further, but this is a good time. You can never catch the market bottom. People always say that. You can never catch the market bottom. But I was there at the bottom and I didn't even know. And I missed it. And from that point, it never went back. It just grew 11 times. So from whatever that price of that stock of that company is, it grew 11 times in 10 years. So I missed a very critical, life-changing moment. You think you know the trend, you're making the right bets with the right horse, but if you don't have the cycle, if you don't have the courage to do it, then you will miss it. I've learned that that was one of the most amazing times of my life, but it's not the best. So I think I'm trying to make that best moment happen. So what did I learn in those years? I think, uh, I think again, companies are made out of people, and it's the people that make the company. It doesn't matter what brand, but if the wrong people are there, if you don't have the right people, the organization is just a plaster in a door or in a logo in stickers and brands, but it doesn't mean anything. It's the people that make the business. And as leaders in organizations, we have to constantly remember that it's the people that make the business. There's just risk. It's good risk when your risk pays off. It's bad when it doesn't. In 2003, when I was the GM of Savills and they said we're going to close the business because this country was such a mess, I joined them in 1998 at the height of the Asian financial crisis. So it started in 97, 98, 99, 2000, 2001, 2002, 2003, 2004. 8-year crisis. In those 8 years, every day we had rallies on Ayala Avenue, corner Paseo de Rojas. And the peso went from 25 pesos to the dollar to 50 in a span of, what, 12, 18 months? And that wasn't just Philippines, it was all over Asia. And that destroyed so many companies, lost so many jobs. Industries were wiped out all over Asia. And things were very hard. And all those things led to a political crisis, which is why we elected President Estrada. And in 18 months, we kicked him out and we installed GMA, rightly or wrongly. And as soon as she sat there, we wanted her out. All these economic hardships led to political uncertainty that led to risk, And Savile said, okay, we're pulling out of this. Even though you were growing the business revenue peso wise, the moment you convert that to dollars, it meant nothing because, you know, your dollars are worth, your pesos are worth half the dollars now. So they said, the easiest way to do this, just run a franchise. Pay us every year, run a franchise. But that would have been seen as a moment of hardship, yes, but also it was a great opportunity. Back then, my father in law said, David, this is a great opportunity. Let's go do it. So I put all my savings in that company. He borrowed money against his house to put it in this company, and my other partner, Angela Padilla, also took her share and invested in the company. These are the three people that founded Leechiu and Associates in 2003, and that became a business we sold to Jones Lang 5 years after. What I learned from many clients at that time is that you have to be brave to be able to invest meaningfully, but in order for you to do that, you need years of preparation. You need to build assets in anticipation that one day a crisis will happen, and that when that crisis is there, you have to have resources during that crisis, deploy that capital, and buy when nobody wants to buy. When companies are falling left and right and failing, you don't know which company to buy, but maybe you'll take a risk, and maybe that risk will pay off. So many people in the 80s left the Philippines, and the ones who stayed said, okay, Forbes Park at 1,800 pesos per square meter, Ayala Avenue property at 2,000 pesos per square meter, let's go do it. Did they know that things will go from 2,000 pesos to 250,000 pesos in less than 10 years? They didn't know that, but they were prepared and they were brave enough. And then they sat it out. And I think that is the biggest lesson. Love and kindness will overcome anything. Your self esteem is not based on what you have, what you're wearing, or what you don't have, and what you're not wearing. It's about what's inside. I had many friends who didn't care that I didn't have anything at that time. And sometimes today, what's very hard is that now that I have some things, sometimes it's very hard to discern who are your real friends and who are friends that are there because they're opportunistic about the relationship they have with you. And when I look at my clients, if people think that I have a lot, these people have a lot times to the power of 100 to the power of 2,000. And it's a very different equation. But they're also asking the same thing. When they were younger, things were less murky. They knew who their friends were, and they knew who were not their friends. And at the scale of x to the power of 2,000, at that level, they're still asking the same questions. Are these people real friends? Are these people just here for the ride? And again, it just goes back to people are just people. There was one time I was in a very fancy, I won't name the name, I won't name the, but this is this family, and they built one of the most beautiful office buildings in the Philippines. It's still one of the most beautiful buildings today. But I was 24, 25 years old then, and I was taking a leak in the bathroom of this very nice office building, and the owner of the building comes in. It's one of the most prominent families here, if not the most prominent family. And the guy who owns the freaking company walks in the same bathroom and takes a piss right beside me in the urinal. And I go, and I was 25, I was very, very, very young, and it's like, fuck, this guy is peeing also. He's just regular dude. Doesn't know me, so do my thing. He does this thing, wash hands, go out, walk out. It's just, fuck, this guy is like so normal. He pees just like me. So it's people are just people.